Tonight could be, in fact, that night. On this morning edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, Nick Fairbanks will be joining me on this Fairbanks Friday edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, as for the first time in over 10 years, the Florida Panthers have an opportunity to clinch a playoff series, and for the first time, hopefully in 26 years, they'll be able to officially clinch as well. Let's roll.
Your Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to this Friday, May 13th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from PantherParkway.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Monoman12. Follow the show account on Twitter at LO_FLA Panthers. Don't forget to also follow the national show, Locked On NHL, and the Crosscheck NHL show with Andrew Berkshire and Mary Clark. Will be covering all the postseason activities around the National Hockey League. So, Florida Panther fans, like I said at the top, for the first time in 10 years, the Florida Panthers have an opportunity to clinch a playoff series, and 26 years that they can actually get the job done. And the Florida Panthers, they found ways to, even with an 0-16 power play throughout this series, they still found ways to win games. I mean, it's still pretty not really hard to believe that they came back from 3-0 down against Washington, because that's something we've seen all season, but it's still crazy to think that they did this in the postseason when we all heard the noise of, can they do it? But each game that you play through, it's an individual test, one game at a time. Right here, it's like taking an exam throughout your time in school, and you pass one test at a time, and they passed that test, and it's on to the next one. And right now, the Florida Panthers have their opportunity tonight, 7:30 on TBS for the people outside of the region, Bally Sports Florida for anyone in South Florida. So it could, tonight's episode's called Tonight Could Be the Night, and tonight could very well, in fact, be that night. So I'm going to bring in my guest on the show. He is a multiple time guest on the show. It is a Friday. It is a Fairbanks Friday edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Nick Fairbanks is back. Nick, how are you, buddy?
Couple things. Feels like I'm not off this roller coaster yet. I have a feeling if tonight goes as well as we hope it goes, then we'll be at the top peak again, only to wait for the second round to start and then start coming down that roller coaster hill again. So definitely a lot of emotions. Definitely had a lot of emotions on Wednesday night. I think after the Capitals made it 3-0, I think, to be honest, in a playoff game, was ready to pack it in. But then Carter Verhaeghe, who has been doing everything he can this series, shows up, scores a big goal, then slides some sauce over to Hornquist to make it 3-2, and then it was on. I don't think that I've been on a roller coaster ride like this for a long time. I think the last time it probably was about 10 years ago, Game 7, when Sean Bergenheim actually put a shot on Martin Brodeur, and Marcel Gottsch was right there for the rebound. And that is probably my most memorable Panther memory right now, and just having that feeling again to be able to express the joy and everything that this game brings, it was missed. So I'm very hopeful that tonight is the night and that we can move on from here and just take this, as you said, one test, one game at a time.
Yeah, and especially with how the Florida Panthers were able to, just the last time around that they were in DC, played their best game possibly of the series in that road game. That was the start of Andrew Burnett making those shifts of his lines and defensive pairings and forward pairings. And it's crazy how last time around they played their best game, and there was an opportunity for them to even drop that one and go down 3-1. And I kind of think about that is like, man, the if Hathaway misses that empty net right after at the end of game 4, and of course the Florida Panthers come back, and if game 5 went the way it did, our mindset even in game 5 being down 3-1, if the Panthers were down 3-1, I that would have been a different type of feeling, of course, versus being tied 2-2. It'd be I I said it after regulation in game 4. I was kind of like Ron Burgundy in a glass case of emotion. That would have been way worse had the Capitals not missed that empty net opportunity in game 4. But here we are, up 3-2 versus down 3-2 in that situation, and not having to climb all the way back with like no room for error. I'm not, and this isn't me trying to say that make those errors and it's all good, because you don't want you some behind the curtain stuff. We all talk about, when I'm saying bye to everyone coming back to Orlando, we say, see you for game 1, see you for game 1, see you for game 1. Nobody wants this to come back to Sunrise. Nobody. So get it done tonight and get a little rest, and we anticipate hopefully we anticipate the winner of Tampa Bay Toronto, which that was a thrilling game last night where the Tampa Bay Lightning came back to win it, and there'll be a game 7 in Toronto. But man, just right there for the taking, Nick.
It is, and it's kind of unnerving at the same time because, this team has only made the playoffs maybe a handful of times. So, you know, I think a lot of fans are on edge, like us. We want the best or we hope the best. Um, but at the same time, you can't shake that uncharacteristic feeling of, is this real? Is this really going to happen? And one of the things that I always point to, or at least I've pointed to since game 4, was good teams never quit. Good teams make their own luck. Whether the Hathaway empty netter miss was, the Panthers, creating that luck, or maybe the NHL gods made luck, but you have to be good to be lucky or lucky to be good. So I happen to think that that was somewhat of an omen and that they were going to get the game tied up and eventually win. I also think it was an omen game 5 that they were able to come back and score 5 straight to win that game. There's just too many things that are going on that are positive right now that maybe you just can't stop this momentum. Do you want to come back to Sunrise for a game 7? Absolutely not. But the thing is, what has this team done all season? They always come back after a loss, or they come back after being down. So if that is the case, if for whatever reason, whatever happens tonight, they do not win game 6, game 7 will be in a crazy packed arena, and it's going to be insane. So hopefully we close out in 6, maybe not back here at Sunrise, but you never know. The team has been resilient all year.
No doubt. And game 5 proved to be just another one. And you said how FLA Live Arena will be insane if there's a game 7. And as I was making my drive back to Orlando after game 5, I was just thinking about the energy in the building. even even before the game started, and seeing how Stanley C. Panther banging on the drum, and the whole arena chanting "Let's go Panthers," and Andrew Imber getting ready to introduce the team to the ice, and it's just like it like sends shiver down my spines a little bit. Not gonna lie, with how loud that arena has gotten throughout these first 3 home games throughout the series, and it's just been incredible. And Cats fans, once again, props to you. You guys have brought it in this series. But we're going to transition over to the next segment where we're going to talk about some individual awards, possible Hart Trophy nominees. Is there a Florida Panther there? Is there not? Maybe you have heard, maybe you haven't, but we're going to discuss that more in the next segment of here on Locked On Panthers. But first, we're going to tell you all about Built Bars. And Built Bar is introducing the birthday cake puff. Imagine dipping your finger into that plastic tub of birthday cake frosting and then opening your eyes and realizing that was only 150 calories and 16 grams of protein. That is what it's like to eat a birthday cake puff from Built. Just received a birthday cake puffs, and I've never had anything like this before. They're available right now, and we can promise that they will be there tomorrow. So go get them today at built.com. And if you haven't tried the puffs, I'll let you in on a secret, because that's what friends do. A chocolate-covered marshmallow protein bar. Yeah, you heard me. Delicious flavored marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. Make every day your birthday with Built's birthday cake puffs. Built has gotten the delicious experience of biting into a fresh slice of birthday cake enrobed in 100% white chocolate and added sprinkles. Go to built.com and use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. Second segment here on this live morning edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. I'm Armando Velez. I got Nick Fairbanks here from PantherParkway.com joining me on this Fairbanks Friday edition of the show. So, Nick, the Hart Trophy nominees have been announced yesterday. Just as I was getting home, I was looking at it, and I just shook my head when I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And let me read it for the people who haven't heard who the nominees are. The following nominee finalists for the Hart Memorial Trophy are Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, and Igor Shesterkin of the New York Rangers. And the guy who we've been raving about all season, who's had a career year, who's also playing for a new contract too, Jonathan Huberdeau, is not even a finalist for the Hart Trophy. And honestly, it's asinine in my opinion. It's insane how he's had this much of a great season. And really, when I think about also Barkov being out for a good stretch of time in the season, that he's not even a finalist for the Hart Trophy. And I was just shaking my head in disappointment, but I was more of a disappointed, not surprised, based on what I saw. Your thoughts, sir?
Definitely disappointed when I found out that news. And I'll be honest with Cat fans. I think the only player that I would probably not put in the Hart conversation this year is probably Connor McDavid. I mean, I understand that he's there every year and that he's the whole Edmonton Oilers team. I mean, outside of Draisaitl, but come on. I mean, Matthews is just going to be there. Honestly, I think he's got the press in his back pocket. Sorry to be so transparent like that, but I think we've seen it on social media. And then you have Igor Shesterkin, who arguably had one of the best goaltending seasons in history. Definitely, I would say top 5, top 10. And then you have Jonathan Huberdeau, who plays in a small market, doesn't get a lot of press, and then doesn't even, gets chided for not playing defense. I have to think what the Panthers' record or how they would have played if he was out this season. I mean, I know he was out for a couple games as far as, hey, we're protecting the players for the playoffs, but I'm pretty sure Barkov was out for a stretch of time. I'm pretty sure he was shuffled around other lines just to make sure that things were working or to, balance out the lines and everything. But he still ended up with 115 points on this team and carried them through probably one of the, hardest stretches that they had, especially going into, the COVID stretch where they had to be off for a week, almost 2 weeks. And just everything that he means to this team. If Barkov wasn't going, Huberdeau was going to pick up the slack. And on top of that, he's unselfish. I mean, we get on him that he passes too much, but I mean, damn, does he make it look good when he does complete a pass and everything. But just imagine this Panthers team without him, maybe all season. And then compare it to Austin Matthews when he was out for part of the season with an injury. Maple Leafs didn't lose ground. They actually won most of their games without him. But I understand where Matthews is, the love for Matthews is coming from because he scores big goals. And I'm a big guy who loves, seeing, wrist shots, slap shots, or even just pretty goals being scored. But, I don't believe Matthews ever showed up against the Panthers. Huberdeau did.
Mm-hmm.
But, they don't give awards out for, playing against the Panthers. But I will say that it is a little surprising that he wasn't in the top three and that McDavid, again, gets a shoe in just because he's the only player on the Oilers outside of Draisaitl. But maybe this will light a fire under him, again, going into next season. I know you said that he's playing for a contract. If I was Bill Zito, I would extend him this summer, but who knows? Maybe Zito will wait to see if this was an aberration as well, to see if he doesn't pay him like $11 million a year. So just food for thought.
I actually think quite the opposite. I think if you're Bill Zito, you want to do it immediate and not have the season play out for Huberdeau. Because I think if you were to get win the Art Ross and of course be a Hart Trophy finalist and even win it, that would be more leverage on the side of Huberdeau. But of course, I'm not gonna fault a player for wanting to get his pay. So I think of it from a cap perspective for flexibility with the team. And I think if you're thinking of a cap hit for Huberdeau, it's likely equal to Barkov. They are 1A and 1B on this team of importance. They're both just as important. I mean, your best scorer versus your best distributor. It's just a good combination for these two, and they've proven it over the years. So it might be more leverage actually on the side of Bill Zito that he might want to do it immediately as soon as July 1st hits for the Panthers. So, and I'm always iffy on whether goalies should win Hart trophies, MVPs, just like in baseball as well with pitchers, because they don't always play every day. But I was just looking at Igor Shesterkin's numbers versus Georgiev's numbers, and it's a massive difference too. So I could see kind of why Shesterkin is up there too, even though I don't think Shesterkin will win it. I'm always very iffy because it depends on what the sample size of games is for goalies and how big of a difference. But in Shesterkin's case, it's wide when it comes to him and Georgiev.
Yeah, and we already know who's going to win the Hart Trophy. Let's be honest, okay? If you haven't been paying attention, I think it's been known since probably about February that it was going to, be this particular player. But Georgiev will probably win the Vezina.
Shesterkin, you mean?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Shesterkin. I'm sorry. I had George on my mind. I don't know why. But yeah, Shesterkin will definitely win the Vezina, and that's most deserved. But I'm actually quite interested to see, the other awards that are going to come out. I know we're not going to hear about Jack Adams till after the first round here, so hopefully we'll hear early next week that Bruno will be a part of the three that'll be nominated there. And I would love this Florida team to be recognized for the season that they were able to put together and not get snubbed. I mean, yeah, Huberdeau got snubbed for being a finalist, but it doesn't mean that the rest of the organization deserves to be snubbed for the season that they were able to put together and the pieces that they were able to put together as well.
Yeah, and same thing with the Jim Gregory Award for Bill Zito. Lou Lamoriello won it last season, and that's another one that we probably won't hear for another few days. And getting Claude Drou and Ben Sherratt, I mean, and if they were to advance past the round, I mean, I don't know who else the league could give it to after he fell behind, after he didn't win it last year for the Panthers. And when you're a President's Trophy winning team, there has to be some kind of recognition league wide based on the work that they've done. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they also see it as like a balance of the team as well, because this team is very balanced, like especially in their top 9, especially. So maybe that's how people outside of the Panthers see. I mean, it's crazy sometimes. The when people talk to me who don't watch the Panthers every day, asking me about the Panthers, and I got a text message the other day from someone who's not on Twitter asking me what's wrong with Bobrovsky, and I'm just
Huh?
thinking, I'm just like, "What?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "What's wrong with Bobrovsky? He's letting in a lot of goals." I'm like, and I'm thinking in my head before responding, I'm just thinking, he's been fine. He's been doing well. I mean, yeah. So I was thinking, it's like, yeah, there's a few of deflection goals going in. In Game 5, there's only really one that maybe you could have put blame on him, whether he failed to glove the puck down, but he's been fine. But it just goes to show that the 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 eyes aren't completely always on this team. I mean, of course, if they advance further in further rounds, of course it narrows it down to, of course, you are watching this team. So it just also goes to show the attention that this franchise gets and this team.
Sorry for my puzzled look, and I'm trying to collect my thoughts on this, but has Bobrovsky been? I think he's been probably the least worrisome
Mm-hmm.
player on this series. I think we can worry about Barkov, to be honest. I'm still waiting for him to really show up and dominate and take over a game, and I really hope it's tonight.
And
Huberdeau
Duclair.
has been missing from time to time. Carter Verhaeghe's the one that's been picking up all the slack. Third line has played well when it's needed to. Bobrovsky, you and I said it coming in. We said he was ready, and he has shown that he is the guy. Um, as you said, has he let in a couple of soft goals, things that that he maybe shouldn't have? Sure. I mean, but hasn't the capital goalies and haven't other goalies in other series and everything, but he's made saves that he's needed to I guess create the opportunity for the Panthers to win. And he did that in game 4, to be honest. I mean, if it wasn't him making those big saves, especially I forget who it was on the breakaway towards the end of the game where it allowed the Panthers to come back and actually score, this could have been a different conversation. You and I could be, oh, well, if we won game 5, we're going to game 6 still down 3-2, like still, kind of like in the bottom slope of a roller coaster. But no, we're up here, and he is a big reason why. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be those fans out there that are not watching or not paying attention and still going to ask those questions. I wish they would have asked that question maybe 2 years ago, like what's wrong with Bobrovsky. But
Yep.
right now, no, this is the best version of Bob that we've seen, and I cannot wait to see if or when we move on to the next round, what level he's going to be on then.
Mm. The opponent's going to be a little tougher, that's for sure. That for the Panthers, whoever they face, and they don't know who that is just yet. But we're going to transition over to the next segment where we're going to talk more about the Stanley Cup playoffs and, of course, preview a little bit of Game 6 for tonight, 7:30 at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. But first, we're going to tell you all about BetOnline. And our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports development, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, Stanley Cup playoffs, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting, playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Third and final segment here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. I'm Armando Velez with Nick Fairbanks here on this Fairbanks Friday edition of the show. And Nick, I hope some of you listening out there got to catch that Toronto Maple Leafs Tampa Bay Lightning finish last night. I didn't get to see that game until the third period after, but I tell people, regardless of who wins, we should want that series to go all the way to 7. And we got it. We got it on the other side. And just for people who didn't watch, Maple Leafs were up 3-2 going into the third period. The Tampa Bay Lightning score on a 5-on-3. Nikita Kucherov scores, and the Austin Matthews trips, and then Michael Bunting looks like it tips it into his own net and then they zoom into Maple Leaf Square, and one person caught my eye in the crowd immediately as that goal scored, like someone taking off their Leafs jersey, like all right there, and then just walking away. And now we have 3 Game 7s on Saturday so far. Just so a 4:30 game, a 7 o'clock, and a 10 o'clock game. Edmonton, LA is going 7. At Maple Leafs Lightning, and Boston, Carolina. Just cancel your plans this Saturday, as they said it on 32 Thoughts this morning. Cancel your plans this weekend. And man, perfect scenario for the Panthers, wouldn't you say?
If they take care of business tonight,
Yes.
most definitely. 2 things I want to say about that is, number one, I think you and I both knew what was going to happen last night. It's tradition every year for a particular Canadian team to do what they did last night. And I thought you put it very politely that Austin Matthews tripped. He just fell over. I don't know. Really? Like, he's falling over like that, and then all of a sudden it leads to that? I mean, come on, man. Like, you're going to be the Hart winner. And you choke again. It's synonymous every single year with this team, and Saturday is going to be a fun game. I know we've talked about it. We want to play the Lightning to get retribution for last year, but also our path to the Cup. We want to beat the champs. We want to take over Florida, and that would be great and everything. But also, we kind of want to keep going with the jokes of, hey, Florida was able to get out of the first round, hopefully. But the Leafs still are choking, and they do this every year. So I don't know. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I had to get that kind of in there.
Yeah, for sure. And for now, let's get to Game 6 for the Florida Panthers versus the Washington Capitals. Mason Marchment did not travel with the team up to DC, so he is officially out for the Florida Panthers against the Washington Capitals on Friday night. And just refreshing my Twitter feed real quick to see what the Washington Capitals are doing at morning skate, because their morning skate is currently going on while the Florida Panthers have a morning skate at 11:30 today at Capital One Arena. And as of 2 minutes ago, Samantha Pell of the Washington Post says that Tom Wilson is not at Capitals morning skate this morning, but he was skating individually on his own. So, of course, if you're skating on your own but then not skating with the team, chances are he's not playing. But you never know what Peter Laviolette could say in the press conference after the fact. But chances are Tom Wilson's not going to be playing tonight for the Washington Capitals. Florida, of course, like I said, Mason Marchment not playing tonight. And for the Panthers, just continuing to roll those lines like they did these last few days, ever since Game 4, just has been incredible. The one player that has just, outside of Carter Hagee, I mean, Carter Hagee has doubled the amount of points of anyone on the team. The next closest is 5 for the Panthers. But man, this guy just sticks out to me so much, and it's Gustav Forsling. It's just the way he's been playing, and that Weegar Forsling line has just, and we crapped on Weegar the first 3 games of this series, but man, he's been a lot better since going with Gus Forsling, being on his natural side as well, and just they're able to complement each other's game. And of course, with Schrott and Ekblad, their sizes are very similar as well, so that also plays a big factor into that. So man, it's credit to Bruno once again for shaking up things when needed to. And man, again, like we said earlier, it's right there for the taking for this team.
It is. And one player that I want to be mentioned, and I know I mentioned it on Twitter for the first period of Game 5, was Maxime Mammon. Hadn't played all series, but he came in and he was the most noticeable Panther on the ice besides Bobrovsky. He was coming in, he was hitting, he was using his speed, he was using his body, he was winning puck battles. He was the only Panther winning puck battles, but he was gaining possession time and zone time for the Panthers when they couldn't get it. So he was the only one that was actually going for the game plan of dump and chase and trying to win puck battles. So very happy with his addition to the lineup. I know everybody wants to see Lamborghini right now, but I don't think this is his series or his game. Nothing against him or anything. I just think that right now the Panthers need big bodies and people who can possess the puck and win those board battles. I just don't think Lomberg has that place right now in this series. Now, when it comes to Toronto or let's say Tampa in the next round, if the Panthers do advance, I could see him getting back into the lineup because we'll need more speed and more tenacity. His type of game against those type of teams. But I just we'll see what happens. I mean, Tom Wilson, I think somebody in the Washington area said that he has a pretty substantial injury, and I don't think he's going to be coming back this series at all, if at all, the playoffs, which is a benefit for the Panthers. But I also don't see the Capitals dropping off too much without him in the lineup. So definitely have to keep their heads on a swivel, and also need to play their best, regardless.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you brought up Ryan Lomberg, and you brought up and you spoke about Maxim Mammon and all. And Maxim Mammon versus Ryan Lomberg, I think about where Mammon could be placed into the lineup. He could play on the left wing and he could play on the right wing as well. While Lomberg is mostly on the left side, and he hasn't had that flexibility, and he hasn't been placed up and down in the lineup. At one point in the season, Maxim Mammon has played top minutes with Alexander Barkov. And of course, that the purpose of that was to not destroy the chemistry between Barkov and Verhaeghe on that line.
Yep.
When Duclair was shifted down. But also I think about that part of it. So you're not mixing. It's not just affecting one line; it's affecting the different lines around the lineup. And Maxim Mammon's on the third line. I don't see Ryan Lomberg being anywhere above the fourth line for this team. And I just think Mammon's flexibility, even if he's not getting on the scoring, the other players on his same line, it doesn't disrupt the chemistry for them. And Anton Lundell and Sam Reinhart as well. I mean, Sam Reinhart has been incredible in this series as well, getting a goal like right in front of the net.
Two tying goals.
Mm-hmm. One in Game 4 and then one in Game 5, thanks to Carter Verhaeghe poking it, and then Reinhart finishing. But you think about that with Maxim Mammon, and that's kind of what he brings to the table. So I think it's the right decision to put Maxim Mammon. I don't expect him to score, but hey, you never know. The like you said, he was winning board battles, and the board battles and the 50-50 pucks in the beginning of Game 5, everything was going to the Capitals, and just and then just midway through the second period, it just flipped for the Panthers, and Maxim Mammon was bringing a lot of that early and helping the Panthers at least get a little bit of confidence.
So he was one last thing about Mammon. So he kind of had the Sam Bennett thing going on where the team was the Capitals were allowing him to carry the puck through the neutral zone and then be able to go into the offensive zone. But one thing that he was doing that Sam Bennett has failed to do basically all series, and it's kind of making me pull my hair out, is let's get the puck deep. I understand if you have possession and everything like that, but if you're going on 1-on-3 or 1-on-4, dump it down and start making havoc, creating havoc behind their goal and everything. Allow your team to, get in position to actually retrieve a puck. I have a feeling that, Bennett has done that so much, or hasn't done it so much, that this caused turnovers, and it hasn't allowed the Panthers to create pressure like they've wanted to, where Mammon understands his job of carrying the puck and then dumping it down and then trying to win a board battle to basically hem the Capitals in. So it was very refreshing to see that, and I think that's kind of what allowed the Panthers to kind of get their footing in and start to get zone time.
And also, if there's tired bodies on the ice, you have an opportunity to make a change on the other side. And hopefully it's not something quick where the Capitals catch the Panthers in a line change going the other way. And the Panthers have eliminated some of the rushes for the Washington Capitals going the other way as well. So credit to the Panthers for being a lot better in the neutral zone throughout the last 2 games. And just do the same thing that you did in game 4. And just when you hold them to 16 shots on goal, you're definitely doing something right. And once again, credit to Bruno this whole series for making the necessary adjustments. And we were on this up and down roller coaster of emotions, and now we're here. Hopefully, just like the Incredible Hulk ride at Islands of Adventure, hopefully it's more of that launch right there once hopefully the Panthers clinch the series tonight at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. But Nick, I want to thank you once again for joining this Fairbanks Friday edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Hopefully we're having a fun post celebration. All of us Panther fans, whether you're listening on YouTube, following the account on Twitter, or even if you're not on any of these devices that you are celebrating, hopefully that we are having a celebration and that we are celebrating a playoff drought for the first time in 26, clinching a playoff series for the first time in 26 years. But Nick, thank you once again, and tell everybody where they can find you online.
Armando, thank you again for having me on for another Fairbanks Friday. And 2 points I want to bring up before I have the Twitter handle. Number one, it's Friday the 13th. So I hope that means something good for the Florida Panthers, breaking curses and breaking things that unfortunately have plagued this organization for a while. And then secondly, I hope this Fairbanks Friday session is going to be a memorable one as the Panthers do move on to the second round after this evening. So I want to thank you again for having me on every Friday. Basically, it's been fun. Hope we can continue to do it and everything. But as fans, if you guys are not following me, I am on Twitter at Prudentia0. And also you can follow my work on PantherParkway.com. And we will be releasing an article at around 12 p.m. to kind of preview going into Game 6 and what this season's meant. So Armando, again, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, Nick. And follow the show account as well at LO_FLA Panthers, where in about an hour we will be updating you for stuff from morning skate for the Florida Panthers. So make sure to follow the account, and of course follow here, as we will be having a post-game show, celebratory or not, based on the result tonight. We will be having a show tonight. But Nick, thank you once again.
Thank you. Let's do it. Let's go Panthers.
Go Cats. And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On NHL and the Crosscheck NHL show with Andrew Berkshire and Mary Clark, who will be covering all the regular season activities around the National Hockey League. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. And for your second listen of the day, make sure you listen to Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Hosts Steele Roden and Flip Livingstone help you become the experts of your fantasy team. Follow the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get podcasts. So I'm Armando Velez with Nick Fairbanks, and you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.